An 8-run loss for the Duluth Huskies here at Wade Stadium. The Huskies allowing 7 runs to the Eau Claire Express across the middle innings. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back in here to Wade Stadium. Wyatt Kopelman and Kyle Morrison. Now, Kyle, the Huskies not exactly getting the desired start out of Mason Burns in his second go-around with the Express. He picks up the loss, while J.J. Peace picks up the win and goes to 2-1.
Yeah, it was just a tough game for the Huskies overall. You talked about Mason Burns. He gave up 2 runs in that first inning, and this Eau Claire Express team really just took that lead and ran with it. They were not behind in this entire game. Every time the Huskies scored, they seemed to have an answer. Ultimately, they won 12-4, did the Eau Claire Express. The moment in the game that I think was really the biggest when it comes to the Huskies not being able to pull through and win this game was probably, I would say, the 6th inning. That's when they had the bases loaded and they were unable to come up with a big clutch hit. And Eau Claire ended up scoring more runs after that later in the game to make their lead, to balloon their lead to a 12-4 lead. So look, this was just a tough game overall for the Huskies. They didn't play great defense. They had 2 errors. They didn't come through in clutch situations. Ultimately only scored 4 runs. And their pitching really wasn't that fantastic. Besides Andrew Brockwell, he gave them some quality innings. So put this one in the garbage can, move ahead. You got another game in 3 hours, eat some lunch, get hydrated, digest good food, and move on to Game 2 of the doubleheader. The
Express gaining essential and total control for the 9 innings here at Wade Stadium. Let's take a look at the highlights to see how the Express did just that. Top of the first inning, Joe York, the designated hitter, with a 2-run RBI single. Then it passed it off to Jonathan Vastine. Meanwhile, a 5-3 double play. Burns strikeout. A couple of the defensive highlights here for the Huskies.
Yeah, and after that 2-run single, it looked like Eau Claire was going to score even more, but fortunately Jonathan Vastine with a nice defensive play there, a 5-3 double play, and then Mason Burns with a strikeout to get him out of the inning, limiting the damage to only 2.
And a couple of excellent plays from the Eau Claire side of the diamond as well. J.J. Peace flashing the leather with his glove right on the mound, but meanwhile Christian Campbell, an RBI single, that's what he does best for the Huskies with 2 of those RBI hits today.
Yeah, that made it 2-1, but as I was talking about, the Eau Claire Express continuing to come back with more and more. Sam Hunt there with a base hit to make it 3-1. Eau Claire was not done scoring in that inning either, as York, he comes up again, Joe York, to pick up another RBI on a walk there from Mason Burns, and just like that, it was 4-1 Eau Claire.
The Huskies, meanwhile, would continue to fall into a bigger hole as well. Jake Sapien able to scorch a double into left field. That would make it 6-1 in favor of the Express. Christian Campbell would offer an answer, but not before Bobby Blandford as well, and that made it a little bit of a ball game for quite some time.
Yeah, this is when the Huskies started to show some signs of life. That Bobby Blandford single to make it 6-2, and then Christian Campbell with this single to make it 6-3. At this point, you're starting to think, okay, maybe the Huskies can get back in this thing, but give Eau Claire credit. Despite that RBI single there from Christian Campbell, they came back right away, and this is just a thang off the bat of Sapien to make it 7-4. Some bad luck there for Duluth.
Not your common RBI either. A 7-4 lead for Eau Claire with the bases loaded. They would continue to capitalize. Reed Latimer pushing one past Campbell into center field, making it a 5-run deficit for the Huskies. The Eau Claire Express continuing to capitalize with runners in scoring position and 1 out. Then moving on into that 6th inning, a little bit of a sacrifice fly, but first an Eau Claire nice grab in left field, an excellent play. Meanwhile, Peyton Powell with an E3 later on, that would score another Eau Claire run. The Huskies, that kind of day on the defensive side.
Yeah, that is just a rough play there all the way around for Powell. You could tell he was disappointed in himself on that one, just inexplicable sometimes. And then Daryl Johnson Jr. finishing the runs here for Eau Claire with a walk, something that he struggled with all year long, as the Huskies end up falling to that score, 12-4. And just a rough game overall for Duluth, but they're going to try to move on. We got another game here in a little bit over 3 hours, Wyatt.
Now, you mentioned the Huskies getting the bases loaded in the 6th. Certainly more opportunities to potentially seek if that opportunity comes across, aside from the Huskies struggling with the bases loaded, leaving a good number of runners on base in certain innings as well.
Yeah, I talked about this during the broadcast, but Eau Claire did a great job of coming through when they had opportunities. You can't say the same thing about the Huskies. Yes, they scored 4 runs, but they left a lot of runners on base. 1 left on base in the 2nd, 2 left on base in the 3rd, 2 more left on base in the 4th. In the 6th, they left 3 on base, and then, of course, 1 in the 8th and 1 in the 9th. Huskies just not taking advantage of the opportunities that they had, and they just had fewer opportunities in general than Eau Claire. I mean, anytime you see a team with 17 hits like Eau Claire had, it was really an offensive explosion for a team that, although they're now 31-21 and at the top of the Great Plains East, are not really known for their offensive production, but you wouldn't have known it here today as they came out there and really with an offensive onslaught, beat the Huskies 12-4.
So 2 runs in the opening frame, 7 runs across the middle innings, and 3 in the late innings as well. The Express continuing to pounce on different scoring opportunities. J.J. Peace, he picks up the win, the right-hander. Now 2-1 on the season. Mason Burns falls to 1-1 in his second go-around with the Express in a game that was played in 3 hours and 8 minutes here at Wade Stadium, the first half of a doubleheader. We will be back with more starting at 6:25. The Huskies set to face the Express one more time before heading back on the road tomorrow to Bismarck, North Dakota to take on the Bismarck Larks. But for my broadcast partner, Kyle Morrison, I'm Wyatt Kopelman, as we say so long here from Wade Stadium, and you've been watching this presentation of Huskies baseball on the Northwoods League Baseball Network.